Hey, 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 family. Welcome to the Ramble Within. This is Friday Frenzy with your girl. She rambles.
And Coach O speaks.
And what we are going to do today is we are going to go over Mr. Ben Solak, ESPN contributor. He is talking about his way too early, way, way, way too early 2026 NFL Rookie of the Year predictions. So now, one thing that puzzled me, well, not really puzzled me, but it kind of rubbed me the wrong way. But as a general rule, quarterbacks who start the majority of the season and produce win the award over spectacular seasons from non-quarterbacks. Now, in 2023, he makes a reference to Texans, my best friends, quarterback C.J. Stroud and the Rams wide receiver Puka Nakua had excellent rookie seasons, but Nakua's campaign was legitimately record-setting at as his 105 receptions 1,486 yards were marks for rookie receivers. The yardage record had stood for 63 years before he broke it, but he still didn't win a damn award. What's up with that?
Well, I'm glad we are going on this topic because the rookie of the year, I get it. You want to give it to the person that has the best statistical numbers. That's what it's supposed to be. But of course, if you go through the history of rookie of the year from 1967 when it established, it's been dominated by quarterbacks. They want to give it to the quarterbacks because they're the ones throwing the ball. It's the whole optics of why people watch the NFL. So before we go into it, I want to say that I'm going to be very biased while we're talking because when it comes to rookie of the year, there's some individuals that have been left out. Only a select few have gotten a vote to two votes in the voting for rookie of the year. And it's the dirty working guys, the guys that do the dirty work. And that's the offensive linemen. The offensive linemen never get their credit. They never get their respect. They never get their due diligence that they deserve. Without the offensive linemen, we wouldn't have these rookies of the year. But before I continue on, let's see what we got going on.
So he says his offensive rookie of the year candidate rankings, if a player is not included, it just means that they have zero chance of winning the award. It's simple. It will not happen. So don't screenshot this, he said. So his rankings from the current class, we're going 1 to 12. Fernando, of course, Jeremiah Love, Carnell Tate, Jadarian Price, Jordan Tyson, Casey Concepcion, Makai Lemon, Denzel Boston, Omar Cooper Jr., Carson Beck, Drew Aller, and Antonio Williams. That's the O rookies of the year.
So with those 12 already, I see where he's going with it because of course majority of them are the top draft picks, like Fernando being number one, Jeremiah Love number three, Cornell Tate number four. But now you got to break down the team aspect with that player to see do they qualify to me as rookie of the year.
So what do you think?
Okay, so let's start off with the number one overall pick. The whole hoopla, the whole extravaganza, why everybody tuned in for the draft. Mr. Fernando Mendoza. Great athlete. Awesome, awesome player. Uh, he won the national championship against my Miami Hurricanes. But if you watch that game, if you thoroughly watch that game in the second half, my two beasts of defensive linemen, Ruben Bain Jr. and Akeem Mesidor, my wife's cousin, not sure, but the name says it all. Yes. They caused havoc. They brought that mayhem down on him, and he was puzzled. He was lost. He was confused. The only reason why he had some big plays and made some big plays was when the defense over pursued, which means going after the quarterback out of control, not in control. He broke what we call containment. And by the time his help in the back end of the defense saw what was going on, he was already 20 yards down the field, 25 yards down the field,
Let me
etc.
insert that he's a wonderful human being, a humanitarian.
So him being selected number one overall, let's forget they just signed a quarterback who has an interesting contract in one of my wife's favorite players, in Mr. Kirk Cousins.
My boy.
He was just given a $28 million contract. Guess who's going to be starting? Kirk Cousins. Why? That offensive line is terrible. Now they got some draft picks, they did some things, but that offensive line was terrible last year. Look what happened to Ashton Genty, the running back they drafted 6 overall. Fernando's not going to be starting. He might get some playing time. He's not, so he's out the book. Jeremiah Love, next in line to me. The running back, Arizona Cardinals. One issue, offensive line. Their offensive line was atrocious last year. Kyler Murray got injured, knocked out the game. All their running backs got knocked out the game. Offensive line. He's not going to dominate. You just saw what Ashton Gentry just did with no offensive line. He's not going to be the rookie of the year. Carnell Tate, interesting pick here. But I don't see him being the rookie of the year either, because why? Cameron Ward has other receivers that he's throwing the ball to. But the other aspect too is their offensive line. Before I continue, I just said that 3 times in a row. There's a reason why I said that. Let's think about some players right quick. And I'm going to go to the past right quick. Tom Brady. Everybody calls him the GOAT. Why do they call him the GOAT? Well, 7 championships. Naturally, that's the GOAT. The only NFL quarterback in history with more than 4. So, yeah, I'll give you that. However, what did Tom Brady have consistently of when he won his championships in New England? My brother and all them boys in Boston would hate me right now, but offensive line. They have one of the best offensive line to protect him. Without protection, you can't throw the ball. Let's go to Emmitt Smith, the so-called leading rusher in the NFL. What did he have? One of the largest of all time offensive linemen during that era. He had holes the size of the Grand Canyon. Anybody could have ran that ball. Now let's talk about Barry Sanders, who cut his career short. He was a rushing record holder at one point, but he did all his running behind the offensive line because they couldn't block to save his life. So I'm going to stop right there. I don't like the idea that offensive linemen don't get in the category because it's not wow. It's not breathtaking. It's not explosion. It's because they do the dirty work. They do the work that we need. Without the offensive linemen, we'd be playing 7-on-7.
Mm. Well, his defensive rookie of the year, these are his favorites. Well, he's going to have a final list, but he did put a stat in here since 2000, 22 of the 26 winners, 85% have been first round picks. Unfortunately, sadly, there were no linebackers taken in the second round before number 40 this year, and we can stretch our constraints slightly to fit 3, maybe 4, maybe 5 linebackers on day 2. Now, he has his little final list of who should be the defensive rookie of the year. David Bailey, Ruben Bain Jr., Mansour Delane, Sonny Styles, Arvell Reese, CJ Allen, Malachi Lawrence, Akeem Mesdor, my cousin, Chris Johnson, Caleb Banks, Peter Woods, Josiah Trotter, Jacob Rodriguez, Anthony Hill Jr., and Jake Alday.
Wow. Like it stated at the beginning, way too early to talk about rookie of the year for offensive, defensive. Defensive is a little bit more you could discuss and go over, but let's before I continue, let's think about one thing. You're talking about athletes that have not played a down in the NFL yet, right? You're going based on their stats, their playing ability from college, and what they did. So that's why they're going with these statistical rankings that he's going with. Now, me personally, I'm gonna throw one out there. Yes, I'm gonna be biased because I'm a Dolphin fan, not a Dolphin fan, a Doll fan. Like I did that. Anyways, to me, I want to put my boy who was drafted in the 4th round, late in the 4th round, to me, who was a steal, Kyle Lewis out of Pittsburgh. He's a hybrid linebacker slash safety. The Dolphins need major help on the defensive side of the ball. And the way you get recognition as defensive rookie of the year or offensive rookie of the year is playing time. And this dude is set up and ready to start from day one because we need help, both safety and linebacker help. And he's that guy that could play both positions. So I'm going to throw him in there as one of the defensive rookies of the year. But if you want to go with the way the draft unfolded and fell, yeah, naturally, David Bailey Jr. with Arvell Reese, they went into great spots. But the dude that's going to come with, I think, most angry attitude to make a name for himself is my boy from the U, Ruben Bain Jr., because they talk about him, Tyrannosaurus Rex arms. He had small arms. So can he uphold himself against these guys? But one thing he does very well, which you try to teach, and Jason Taylor taught these guys. Jason Taylor, a Miami Dolphin Hall of Famer. on how to use your size and ability to dominate the offensive line, which is getting low, getting underneath the pads. The lower guy wins. The sooner you get inside, you dominate. So I'm gonna throw, if not Kyle Lewis, I'm gonna throw Ruben Baines being the rookie of the year.
So he says Bain barely slips in below the threshold as the Bucks snagged him at number 15, a pro-ready run defender who has little competition on the depth chart. Bain is exactly the sort of player I look for as a rookie of the year candidate, save for one key issue. He isn't a high sack player. His short arms and favorite push rush create a lot of disruption, but unless he lucks into some cleanup work, it's hard to imagine Bain, who maxed out at 9.5 sacks in 16 games last season, suddenly becoming a double digit sack artist in the league. Still, he might have enough TFLs and advanced stats to draw legit candidacy.
Man, that's crazy that he's talking that smack about Ruben Baines because he had 2 sacks on your number one quarterback who was drafted in the national championship game. So here's a guy that is on the borderline, but he had 2 sacks. It should have been more. Come on, no. He's got an engine that doesn't stop, and because all this smack, these just like what he's saying, is what's going to motivate him and turn that fire and light it nonstop. He's going to have. I guarantee you, he's going to have 13.5 sacks this year.
13 and a half. Well, going back to when we talked about my boy, Mr. Cousins, they said that when it seemed like when he was talking in his press conference, it was kind of a different tune. He says, I don't want to start unless I'm the best option. I told Clint that the best player should play. I'm willing to bank on Mendoza's long runway of preparation, says the writer of Kubiak's offense. He has known that he's going to be a Raider since January, giving him an early leg up relative to most rookies. Do we really think that they're going to put my boy on the bench to let this boy start?
No, they're not going to put Cousins on the bench. No, Clint Kubiak being a first-time head coach, he's not going to run with the rookie, especially with the offensive line being as atrocious as it is. He's going to go with Kirk Cousins, a veteran, a guy who still is capable of starting games. Look what he did last year. Remember, he was signed to Atlanta with a $180 million contract, and that year they signed him. They with the 8th select pick overall, they selected a quarterback, Michael Penix Jr. And Kirk Cousins was doing great. They were 6-3, and then some things happened because once again they had offensive line help struggles. So they put Michael Penix Jr. in. Here we go. Let's go into last year. Michael Penix Jr. started. Kirk Cousins was on the bench. Hey, I'm good. You know what? I understand my role. Michael Penix Jr. got injured. Why? Offensive line help again. Not protected him. And then Kirk Cousins comes in and he just dominates. They almost made the playoffs. Okay. Kirk Cousins going to be starting. His contract is set up that each year he's there, he gets more money. So check this out. It's not a guaranteed 5-year contract, but his contract can be up to 5 years, $178 million. Who signs a contract like that unless if they know something ain't going to be there? I don't see Fernando being the starter this year, and I won't be surprised if the Raiders draft another quarterback next year.
Oh, yeah. So NFL.com, their odds and projections are as of May 2026 and subject to change based on the training camp performances. So these are early ons. They said that their top 3 for offensive rookie of the year was Jeremiah Love, Fernando, and Carnell Tate. Who you take out of that?
I'm not taking either one. I won't take neither one. I don't get me wrong. They're very good players. They're very great athletes. They have capabilities of dominating on their teams. But those 3 teams do have issues all around. And plus, there's other help in Tennessee. Arizona needs major help. Okay. But they got a quarterback in Jacoby Brissett, who's a gunslinger. He's just going to throw the ball. He knows what he went through last year, and he was throwing the ball all over the place. And they got receivers and a tight end. They got one of the best tight ends in Trey McBride. They got a great receiver coming up in Michael Wilson, and then Marvin Harrison Jr. is still out there. They're going to throw that ball. Jeremiah Love the only way he'll get rookie of the year is if they're throwing him the ball out the backfield or lining him up as a receiver. But turning around, handing the ball, that ain't going to happen. And with Mendoza, he's not going to start. Now, who I think might be rookie of the year is one of those receivers from Cleveland, Casey Concepcion or Denzel Boston. Cleveland did their due diligence. They loaded up with both them boys. Now the question is, who's going to throw them the ball? If they get a quarterback to throw them the ball, either Deshaun Watson coming back healthy or me, I would go with Shador. One of those two will be rookie of the year.
Shador, Shador. All right. Defensive rookie of the year, as far as NFL.com is concerned, Sonny Styles, David Bailey, CJ Allen. Who do you take?
Ooh, I'm upset with this one because CJ Allen is who I wanted the Dolphins to draft when they drafted Jacob Rodriguez. I love Jacob Rodriguez. He's another Zach Thomas uh, uh, design linebacker. But if I got to take somebody, it's going to be Sonny Styles, 100%. Sonny Styles landed in the perfect spot at Washington. He is where he's fitted for that scheme over there. So I would go with him, 100%.
Mhm. All right. So, wrapping up our frenzy today, what I am going to ask is because, with anything, things change. You know what I'm saying? We coming from decades and decades of this game continuing on. As far as when it comes to rookie of the year, say, and since you're a Dolphin fan, in Marino days versus today, what is the biggest change?
The biggest change is they're throwing the ball more. And these athletes are now getting bigger, stronger, and faster. So during Marino's era in those 80s through 90s, it was all about running the ball. Marino and a few guys were the exception of being the gunslingers. But the one thing they all had in common back then was offensive line. Marino couldn't have been Marino without the offensive line. The Dolphins loaded up in particular to protect him because he came off of a major injury. That's why he fell to 27th overall to the Miami Dolphins coming out of Pittsburgh. And trust me, it was stupid how he got injured, but he was injured with his knee. So they made sure they put the biggest, baddest offensive lineman to block for him so he could just throw the ball all over the place. They never had a running game. Okay. Now it's more of an aerial attack, but now the offensive line help. Look at the teams that dominate offensively. For example, the rookie of the year last year was Tita McMillan, the rookie receiver at Carolina. He got it because Bryce Young, they finally put a staff under Bryce Young and they put an offensive line in front of Bryce Young so he could do what he's capable of doing, which is throwing the ball. That's what you do with the quarterback. That's why I don't like talking about certain things. I argue with a lot of people when it comes to statistical numbers because without certain players, you're not having these numbers. I don't think a quarterback should ever win any type of award, MVP, rookie of the year, because without the receivers catching the ball,
Hello.
without the offensive line blocking for him,
Hello.
he ain't capable of doing nothing. That's why I brought up about Tom Brady. Tom Brady was known as Dinkin and Duncan, but they dominated throughout his career because they put an offensive line in front of him to protect him, to shield him. And that's why he played for, man, almost as long as my daughters have been born, basically.
Wow.
Actually, he has. My second oldest daughter was born the same time he got drafted. So think about that. A guy who played for over 20 years. Why? Because they protected him.
Was they protected him? The 2026 NFL regular season is set to begin on Wednesday, September 9th, 2026, which is approximately 124 days away from
Oh,
today. What do you want to see in this season?
oh man, I want to see the unpredictable. I want to see like what happened last year. You had two teams that were not even predicted to make the playoffs, but they were in the Super Bowl. They had terrible records the year before. The Seattle Seahawks and the New England Patriots. They both only won like 4 or 5 games the year before, and they dominated last year and went to the Super Bowl because they put the personnel and the coaching, the organization put it all in place. And the one thing I'm going to end this note with that they both had last year, offensive line. Give them boys their due diligence, give them their accolades, let them boys win any type of they've never even won an MVP, and that'd be another subject that I'll get into. Offensive linemen, y'all do the dirty work and don't get no credit. I love you boys. Peace.
Now, we can't end it like that. He is a Dolphin. So, with them be reconstructing, we got new GMs, we got new people, we got coach, we got all kind of stuff going on in Miami.
Yes.
So, what do you want to see from your dog fans? What do you expect? Was it looking good? He made some good choices. He didn't have you too upset because last year my husband was upset at that draft. Lord
Ooh.
Jesus, have mercy. But this guy did a good job with getting some pieces in order, and with the little money that they did have, he made it work. So, what do you expect from your dog
Man,
fans?
I expect a whole different culture change.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I expect. Nothing more than that. I want to see a different culture out there. I want to see the world's greatest grandpa. That's exactly what I want to see, a new culture. I want to see guys that play for themselves. I mean, I'll play for the team, that want to play for the team, and that give everything they have for the team. Okay. And that's what we need now. I like what they did. There were some questionable draft picks. There was a couple, some reaches,
Yeah.
but man, there were some draft picks that I loved, and I'm gonna rave about it. Them two, them two
Oh.
boys. There's two that I'm gonna talk about the most. Is Chris Bell, the receiver they drafted at the end of the third round, who's coming off of an injury. Yes, he did have an ACL tear, but before he had his ACL tear, he was dominating the college scene. He was projected as one of the number one receivers. And then Kyle Lewis. Oh man, when they selected him,
I'm gonna show y'all that video when he got picked.
yes, I screamed and yelled because it was perfect. You know, they did. It's what I wanted to see. I love it. And so all I want to see now is just a culture change. And I want to see them putting the foundation, which is tying back into what we're doing here with the healing together, is the foundation. I want them to put that foundation together and solidify it. And once that foundation is set, y'all better watch out. That's all I got to say.
Well, this is your Friday Frenzy with your girl, She Rambles.
And Coach O speaks, baby.
This is the Ramble. Please tune in on Mondays for our little relationship conversation because we're healing together. Wednesday, I wrap it up in the midweek ramble, and we come back on Friday with the Friday Frenzy. And in the words of our boy Michael, if you want to make the world a better place, take a look at yourself and make that change. Peace.